break. Show me the way. Dispel the gloom. Restore the skies.
Wait, let me. Yeah, it's working. Okay.
Night falls. Good night. Again.
Another God Gwang stream. Oh my goodness. You don't understand, Matos. You don't understand. It's a spectacular day, to be honest. Yesterday, I got Ameth. I got multiple copies, low pulls. Pulls went amazing this patch on HSR. My yaoguang prediction is coming true. I mean, wow. This might be the month of all time for me.
May just protect us. Have some sunshine. Flowers bloom for tomorrow.
Generational.
Dispel the gloom. Restore the skies. Memories waiting to be woken up by a shooting star. Remember me with love.
Did more Yao info come out? It's a questionable leak, so it's not like set in stone.
Watch over the
But
internet.
there is a Silverwolf test team leak that uses Sparksy, EMC, and Huo. And you might think, you know, why is it that you are glazing Yao now? They added an additional note that EMC's kit is highly similar to Yao Guang's, which means my prediction of this being an RMC Siren situation is right. Yao Guang is the AoE version of EMC for the Mono Elation team, which is yes! Thank fuck! Well, that's if it's true, but it's very likely true, so it's like not that surprising.
May just protect us.
Yao is the EMC replacement before EMC even arrived? Yes. This is normal. Ashvale, a sub DPS for a future main DPS, he ain't getting his main DPS till late as fuck. Sparksy was also released before these Elation DPSs came out, unlike Evernight, who came multiple patches after Cassie. They're just selling and placing their banners differently. But people for some reason thought, oh, no, there's no way they do that. They're trying to scam me. They're going to release a better Sparksy, a better Yao Guang, a better this, a better that. You know, they're going to fill a bajillion different more best in slots in this version just so they scam me. Like, no. Like, if you read the kit, if you understood it, you wouldn't be having these questions. But gacha players don't read, so. Well, yeah, EMC doesn't have as much value as RMC. RMC is still like the best generalist free-to-play support in the entire game. If you're not going into the Elation path, like, you'll still be able to use RMC completely fine. I truly think EMC is like a, you know, free-to-play support if you're trying to get into Elation, and that's about it. Doesn't have RMC value.
This is eternity. May just protect us. Dispel the gloom.
More like a HMC? I don't think so.
Don't blink.
Because the Herda Shop light cone implies he's a hyper carry buffer. EMC.
Cleanse hatred with love.
Where's the 50? What do you mean, where's the 50? What are you guys talking about? Yao Guang is best in slot. Are you guys real? Oh my goodness. Five, six pulls. No, I did say I'd give $50 if Yao Guang wasn't best in slot for Silverwolf on release. I did say that. But people are thinking this newest leak contradicts that and proves me wrong when they literally say in the leak EMC kit is like Yao Guang's. The reason they don't know if Yao Guang is better. They don't know if Yao Guang is worse. They only know the test team, right? It's completely possible that the reason EMC is in there instead is because they're still working on EMC's kit. Meanwhile, Yao Guang's already in the game. So, considering Yao Guang supposedly has a similar kit to EMC, do we really think that free to play EMC is going to be better than Yao Guang in elation teams? Do we really think that? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I just don't think so. We don't know because you can't run her as a sub DPS right now. And it's possible Silverwolf can increase team damage somehow. Any new info? Questionable leak by leaker Baby Monster. The Silverwolf test team is with Sparksy, EMC, and Huohuo. And that EMC has a similar kit to Yao Guang. I've seen that. Yeah, we winning? Yeah. Who do you think will be the elation sustain? Nihilux. Oh wait, no, I didn't mean to sell Eggy. Whoops. Guys, you need to understand, there is no better option to a buffed Wowo for a sustain in the game currently. Like, that's why. There's no one better. Like, it's either Don Hung PT, whose attack buff you wouldn't even apply to Sparksy anymore, and you really only just use him as a basic attack bot. Hyacine, whose sub DPS damage has been heavily power crept at this point. I mean, Yao Guang does more damage, right? And she doesn't provide anything and is an SP black hole. Like, the only option you have is a buffed Wowo. Because at least buffed Wowo, she gives energy, which means more Yao Guang Aha instants, which means more Sparksy ults, right? It's just a temporary best in slot. That's really all it is. But Hyacine? Why would people think that EMC would be better than a limited character? Because they're just insanely skeptical of Yao Guang. Like, highly, highly skeptical. I understand people are like scared of getting scammed, but it's like, let's get real, man. Let's get real, please. What about Sparkle SP? What about her? She's on the team as a sub DPS. Anybody who genuinely thought OG Sparkle was gonna be best in slot for the Elation teams, okay, no, okay, people are gonna think I'm slighting another creator because he recently made a video on this, but like, you might not be the brightest. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. You might not be the brightest. Like they would never make an older character best in slot with the anniversary team. Like you have to be insane to think this shit. Like no offense, this is Hoyo. Okay, listen, they've been doing great with the free limited selectors. Fucking love that free sparkle. You know they've been improving in a lot of areas, but let's get real. Okay, there's no way they're making a 2.x support who has had multiple banners already best in slot permanently on an Elation team over. Keep in mind, it's not like, oh, we don't have another Elation support, so like temporary best in slot. Like, no, yaoguang already exists. And people are still trying to argue, you know, oh, Sparkle will be better. uh... Literally just the SP positivity, Anon. Every single time I've talked to someone about why they think Sparkle is best in slot, they can only ever say the SP positivity without realizing how SP positive Yao Guang is as well in 3 Elation teams. On top of this, it's a trend that Elation skills have rewards on them, meaning if this same trend happens for Silverwolf and a future Elation sustain, forced Aha instant from Yao Guang, guess what? Gains more value, generates more shit. Who would have known? The AoE Elation buffer for the Mono Elation team is, guess what? Better than Buff Sparkle, the Hyper Carry buffer. Fuck, dude. I don't understand how people can put a hyper carry support on a dual DPS team. The cope people were using earlier in my last stream when it was brought up is that now that Sparkle's buff lasts 2 turns, you can just double buff because Sparkle is on high ass speed. And while they aren't technically wrong, there will be multiple times where one of these Elation characters is going to act and they won't have, you know, many buffs up at all. However, not only this, if you constantly change the partner of who Sparkle buffs, she becomes more SP negative, right? She doesn't generate as much SP because now multiple times, not only just at the start of the battle, will you lose a skill point from changing skill from character to character. So it's like, but that was the only cope they really had going. Yes, I saw the video because people on my stream asked me to watch it and check it out. I even saw someone mention my name, saying, "Oh, Gabi Maru's not gonna like this. Gabi Maru's almost never right. A broken clock gets something right twice a day." No, no, please don't hate on other creators. Please, man. Please. That's like the last thing I want. This ain't beef worthy, bro. Uh. Everybody's got their own opinions in this leak space. And people can choose to believe whoever they want to believe. I'm not gonna try and police shit. But on my specific channel, I will go hard on my own opinions. And I will go hard against others if I think they aren't right. Just is how it is. Give me that. Give me that. Yes. Can I get more eggies? More eggies? Yes, that's good too. Can we get more eggies in here? No? Okay. Tried. Why does everyone keep saying Yao is not for Silverwolf? They think that this is a Cassie situation where Tribby and, you know, RMC wasn't best in slot for her later down the line and she got her premium teammates. But they aren't able to see the nuance. They aren't able to read the kits and understand it. They aren't able to understand that Hoyo is selling the banners and characters differently in this version as compared to the previous one. So they think that, you know, Silverwolf will get an EMC replacement, a Elation sustain, and even possibly a Sparksy replacement near the end of the version to completely shaft Yaoguang. It's just like an insane doomer mentality without actually understanding. That's basically what it is. Finally, thank you for the Eggie. Is Tribby even best in slot for anyone other than Herda anymore? I mean, that's the thing, though. Well, yes, probably a few of the HP scalers who got buffed, like Blade and the other ones. But that's the thing. Tribby was always made to be a specifically Herda best in slot. And this is what people get wrong so often. They're like, oh, Yao Guang is going to be a Tribby situation where they got power creep later on and Tribby was meant for... No. Tribby was never meant for Cassie. She was always meant for the Herda. And then people just ran away with, oh, she was a Cassie best in slot released early on, and then she got replaced. Like, no. No. No, 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 no. Oh damn, I should have taken that saber. Yeah, literally the only buff that Tribby had on that team, or like thing in her kit for synergy, was that she scaled her own HP off of how much HP the rest of the team had. So she'd increase her HP the more HP. But like this is something that can be used generally in any HP scaler's team. It doesn't only apply to Cassie. But people saw that one tiny bit of synergy and then ran away with that she's the Cassie best in slot. And now we're in the complete opposite situation where these people felt so betrayed by thinking Tribby was best in slot for what's it called? Cassie, that they can now see an entire list of synergy and they won't believe the character will be best in slot because of one quote unquote slight anti synergy, which for Yaoguang's case is the fact that the fixed punchline from her ultimate doesn't contribute towards Silver Wolf's. They've gone from like extreme positivity to extreme doomer in a single version. No, yeah, exactly. I've mentioned this point a lot of times, and people really like ignoring it for some reason. But yes, Yao Guang's value increases, only increases, the more elation characters are added into a team, because elation skills give rewards, meaning her forced aha instant will do more. Currently, her forced aha instant, technically what it does, outside of obviously being able to allow the team to do more damage, is plus 3 skill points equivalent, because you get an elation skill off of Sparksy for free, which is 2 thrill gen, and then you get a Yao Guang elation skill, which is plus 1 skill point. But there's also Silver Wolf. She's probably also going to have a reward for her elation skill, and then the future elation sustain probably near the end of the version. So now her forced aha instant gives 4 rewards and activates 4 elation skills. Um, can I get a Saba? Can I get a Saba? I got a Saba. Nice. What are the odds that E2 Silver EMC is better than E0 Silver E1 Yao? E2 Silver is probably going to be better. Well, it's hard to say. I am confident Yao Guang is going to be an upgrade over EMC, but the thing is, right, let's talk about Cassie. Cassie, without Evernight, adding Cyrene to her team is not a big jump over RMC. It really isn't. Okay, you really need to get every piece to the puzzle for Cyrene to be this significant, like 40+% buff in mono rem. If you have no Evernight, this isn't the case, and it's like a 10% increase maybe, right? 20%. So I imagine, since there's no elation sustain in the game currently, Yao Guang will probably be not a big upgrade over EMC. She will be an upgrade, but it won't be big until that elation sustain comes later down the line, right? So when we look at E2s, Cassie, for example, gets like a 90% upgrade from her E2. I imagine Silver Wolf will have something similar, So yeah, getting the E2 of the DPS is gonna be better temporarily for sure. Cyrene for main DPS Evernight, I believe, is similar to Monorem. So it's like 40+ % jump in performance over multiple cycles. Is Phanon the biggest jump from a single Eidolon in the game? Yes, probably. Evernight is close though. Evernight's E2 is like near Phanon E2 level. But she has the better E1, so the E0 E2 jump is like pretty big, pretty big. Yeah. Because Phanon's the only one who does DPS on his team, getting him significant buffs always matters a lot. Like, for example, an E2 Evernight in main DPS, she is still probably the second strongest E2 in the game for sure, by the way. But the thing is, like, there's multiple people on the team who can do a little bit of sub DPS damage, which, you know, desaturates the value of the Eidolon a bit. And then, especially if you use like an E2 Evernight in Mono Rem, you are nerfing Evernight. Like, straight up. You are just nerfing her by removing RMC. So, Evernight is weird. She is like way better at normal cost levels for the average player in hyper carry than being paired with Cassie. Especially because of how stupid her Eidolon investment is. But then, this is where like Mono Rem shines, is the vertical investment. Because now you can get E2 Cassie, you get E1 Hyacine, you get S1 Hyacine, you get E2 Hyacine, 30% speed buff, you get E2 Cyrene, there's no downtime, you get more true damage. Mono Rem has the strongest vertical investment in the entirety of the game. And I'm going to say this, Mono Elation is literally going to be the same thing with Silverwolf. E1 Sparksy not only is 15% res pen, but an extra 5 punchline at the end of every AHA instant, which has insane synergy with yaoguang. Right. However, not only this, her E2 also gives her an extra turn plus thrill that she can consume on this extra turn, also every time an AHA instant ends. So that E2 is fully synergistic in a mono Silverwolf team with yaoguang. Right. Then you have yaoguang's E1 and E2. Yaoguang's E1 is like straight up a 30% damage increase. And then her E2 is a speed buff, which obviously increases AHA instant speed, can make it easier, and also buffs the entire team's elation, right? And we all know Yao Guang has a decent S1. It is overhyped, but it is decent. Sparksy's S1 buffs the entire team's elation damage. Silverwolf will probably also have very strong vertical investment. Same for the elation sustain. So this entire team is going to have the dumbest vertical investment of probably any team in the version. E1 Heislands is better than Lycone for sure. How long do you think it will be before E2 Phanon becomes unable to 3-star? 3-star what? Knights or King? I mean, people's E2 Phanons already struggle to 3-star if they're bad enough or they don't have teammate investment. And it's hard to say. They will likely increase the HP inflation on Annie. I could be wrong and like 4.1 is going to be the standard for a couple patches, but like there's no way there isn't a significant amount of power creep when we get the Silverwolf Sparksy Yaoguang team with buffed Woho. I imagine that's going to be significantly stronger than even Mono Rem. I don't even care that they don't have their sustain yet. Can you do an oiled up Sparkle cosplay if you're wrong about Yaoguang? I'm good. Am I the only one who thinks that Evanescia might be the main push for the anniversary? No. If that were the case, then she would have gone Sparksy for the Mono Elation team. Evanescia just looks like a normal hyper carry. Don't think Elation Sustain will be as good as Hyacinth since none of the Elation characters scale with healing / shielding. You guys always say this, but like you genuinely have no idea how easy it is to just make some character significantly best in slot over the rest. They could just give that sustain merrymaking an elation skill, and that alone would probably make the sustain like 30 to 40% better than buffed Wowo. Like, you guys really underestimate how easy it is to make a kit like that. Yeah, I already pulled D1 Yaoguang on my main account. And I'm going to try for Sparksy soon. Like, I'm probably the definition of put your money where your mouth is. Because, like, people think I'm, like, trying to sell them this character and shit. It's like, I'm pulling this character myself with supreme confidence. If I'm wrong, then I lose with everybody that I was wrong with. It's like, I'm not like here preaching some shit while being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait till the rerun so I can see if Yaoguang is best in slot. Like, nah, I am like supremely confident, dude. I'm putting my money where the mouth is. Yeah, I'd also lose $50 because I promised that. Are you going to get Sparksy S1? No. She's going to end up being a sub DPS, so. That's probably something I grab on a rerun if it's worth it. I still think E1 Sparksy would matter more in a Silverwolf team, though. Yeah, Yao Guang's ult, popping Aha instance, is just insanely synergistic. And then not only that, like, Sparksy's own Eidolons lose value if you don't run Yao Guang with the forced aha instance. Because both her E1 and E2 have additional effects at the end of aha instance. Like, everything points to this shit, man. Everything. But no, people will still be on here trying to convince your ass that buff Sparkle is better. Have you ever fought for a support reputation like your life depended on it? When's the last time I went this hard on a beta? Oh, it was probably Cyrene. Yeah, it was Cyrene. I was the Cyrene propagandist before she came out. That she'd be best in slot for Cassie and Phanon and all these characters because of true damage and shit. And back then, I got a lot of hate because people thought Tribby was staying as a best in slot. And people believed the... Like, this is probably one of the few times I went against the leakers themselves. Because the leakers were saying that, what's it called? Cyrene would have a territory, right? So obviously, this means you can't pair her with Phanon. You can't pair her with Cassie. I said they're getting rid of that territory. I said it. I don't believe fuck all that these leakers are saying, because there's no way they're going to make the RMC upgrade not synergize with a few Chrysos heirs. And then that aged well. So I was right the last time I put like my life on the line to defend a support's value before she even came out. Yeah. Is Cyrene still best in slot for Phanon? Yes. Like, yes. Over multiple cycles, yes. If you only look at 0 cycle damage, no. It's now buff Sparkle plus Sunday plus Aridra. But over multiple cycles, she does catch up. And especially if you get her E2, apparently. Her E2 is good enough with the extra true damage plus obviously being able to get Phanon and ult faster. To the point where, like, the 0 cycle metric no longer applies anymore. And she's better in 0 cycles as well. So Cyrene is still best in slot. No, I agree. I do think, like, listen, they placed Yaoguang and Sparksy banners perfectly. I've talked about this many times. People don't take this into account when they really should. It's very important, and this matters a lot to Hoyo. Because of Sparksy and Yaoguang being 4.0, sure, Yaoguang doesn't sell the best on the initial banner because so many people have speculation if she's even going to be best in slot for the future Elation characters. Guess where this places their rerun? 4.3, right after the anniversary patch. And you think that they're not going to make Yao Guang best in slot before she even gets her first rerun. People are crazy, dude. This shit matters a lot more than they think to Hoyo, like selling character banners and reruns. I mean, Yao Guang is still there for Sparksy Everly. Like, that's the thing. Like, if Yao Guang wasn't there for Sparksy, she'd genuinely be a brick. And I'm not exaggerating. Sparksy without Yao Guang is like... And like my day DPS level when Cyrene didn't exist or something. Like, it's fucking terrible. It would have been like the most underwhelming newly released DPS of all time if they didn't put Yao Guang here. I mean, I guess they could have changed the banners. Like, maybe first patch is like Blade SP or something. Some shit like that. And then 4.1 Ashvale. I don't know. Another argument is that X.0 characters get the lowest value overall. Yeah, but so what? Once again, Hoyo is selling these characters differently. Like, arguments like these that people bring up, the only people who bring up these arguments like this are people who can't understand the kits. They can't have a serious, like, actual knowledgeable discussion. So they have to play, oh, but Cassie, but this, but that, without realizing how much different these situations are. Because they cannot come up with any other argument if they actually had to think. Also, this is the first 0.0 of a new planet where people, like, we have supports for the new elation path instead of pure DPSs, right? Like, you know what? I'll go in 2.0. I'll go to 2.0. What were the 2.0 HSR banners? It's Black Swan and someone else, I think. So the 2.0 banners were Black Swan and Sparkle, right? Was Sparkle a buffer for a new path? No. Black Swan, she was a damage dealer for a previous archetype already in the works. So, not even remotely comparable. Then we look at 3.0. Two pure main DPSs. No sub DPS capability. No support capability, pure main DPSs. And then you look at 4.0, and you have a main DPS, but they can be ran as a sub DPS, same kit, built exactly like Everknight's. And then you have Yao Guang, who is a pure supportive type for Elation. They are astronomically different in terms of value. Seven pulls. How much pity? $26 pity. And Sparksy's banners in 12 days. Okay. It's not bad. I can get enough pulls to hit pity, but no guaranteed. Hopefully I win that 50-50. I wouldn't even be mad if I lost because of the A-meth luck I've gotten on Wuwa recently. Why do you think EMC will be a downgrade to Yao when they are getting released after her? Because he's free. Yaoguang is a premium. They literally said in my community post, EMC has a kit similar to Yaoguang. So who are they going to make better? The free-to-play MC. Let me ask you this. Who is better? RMC or Cyrene? Which one is best in slot for more Chrysos heirs? Now, the real answer is both. You know, we already know this. But if you have to choose between the two, 99% of the time, it's Cyrene, right? The same applies here. Being released after doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He is in EMC. 2 patches isn't going to make the difference of him making Yaoguang lose all her pull value. Like, do you guys genuinely think Hoyo is retarded when it comes to selling characters? Like, that's what you guys think. I'm going to make this limited Elation AoE support, and I'm going to power creep her with the free-to-play hypercarry MC after 2 patches and completely brick her value before she can even get her first rerun. Like, let's get real. Let's get real, man.
What a full day. A good night's sleep is basically guaranteed.
Can anyone use the Herda-Shop Lycone? The Elation one? No. Nobody can use it. Because it requires targeting a specific ally on the team. So, Yaoguang can't do this. Sparksy can't do this. Evanescia and Silverwolf are both Elation main DPSs. They probably won't be able to do it. So the Herda-Shop Cone is clearly meant for EMC's kit. So he's like a hyper carry buffer. They did it with March 7th Hunt. That is a way bigger patch disparity, I'm pretty sure. What patch did Topaz release? Topaz released in 1.4 and March 7th 4-star came out in 2.4. This is a 1 version difference versus a 2 patch difference. We would literally have to be in 5.x. Well, yeah, but... Do you think Silverwolf will be a defense / HP scaling DPS? No. I mean, they can make Silverwolf whatever they want, but... Like, I don't see any specific reason for that. They'll probably just make her like Sparksy. It's Silverwolf. Yeah, if Topaz gets buffed, things could for sure change. I don't know if they'll buff Topaz, though, because, like, they kind of just made Ashvale. Unless it's, like, a dot situation where Fei Xiao gets a buff and then Topaz gets a buff. You know, like everybody on the team gets buffed. Something like that. Yes. Get Everknight's Lycon. But yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong, right? Like, here's the thing. I think very strongly of my opinions, but I can also admit I could be wrong, right? They could make yaoguang only best in slot and temporarily for Evanesia only in the future to not be best in slot for literally any elation team, which is what a lot of people are alluding to. They could, you know, do this and that, but when we're talking about likelihood, let's just get real, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. I cannot take things like this seriously. Fucking buff Sparkle better than the dedicated AoE elation support. Like, and people genuinely still believe this, and they will continue believing it until we get the beta. It's like, fuck. uh, Once again, this is going to be probably the most toxic beta in HSR history because of the characters getting buffed alongside this entire Yao Guang thing, alongside Silverwolf stealing the Annie main push team. Like, this is going to be the most toxic beta in the history of this game. Will it be worse than Cyrene? Yes. As someone who was on the front lines of predicting Cyrene would be best in slot for all the years, and I had to deal with bullshit from people saying like, "Oh, no, she won't. No, she won't. Tribute will stay best in slot." I can almost guarantee this shit's gonna be like twice as bad at the minimum. When does 4.2 beta start? Probably near the end of this patch, like always. It's usually near the end, maybe 1 or 2 days left on the patch. And that's when we get like kits and betas like about a day later usually. By that I mean gameplays, right? Gameplays. They take longer. Yeah, to this day, Phenon's beta was the worst one I ever dealt with. It is still Phenon's. Because at least the people dooming Yao Guang and the people dooming Cyrene, you know, you could maybe like logically say, oh, you know, they just don't understand. They can't predict the game because they haven't been in it as long, right? So they have like blind faith that Tribby is going to be best in slot. And then Cyrene, it's like a lot of people didn't know about her true value because, let's be honest, most teams you put Cyrene on in the first place could already clear incredibly well, and her value only shines over multiple cycles after you get through the ramp up time, right? So like for both of these cases, you know, you could kind of give a bit of leeway. But when it came to the Phenon beta, it was literally just Hoyo hates males. Hoyo hates males. So I want my male, without any best in slot teammates at all, to have the most broken vertical investment in the game, not consume AV on his turns for ult, and be doubly as strong as Casterus, otherwise he's going to be bricked. That was the majority of Phenon's beta. It was just people living in their own delusions and, you know, complaining about Hoyo making males bad and making women good. It was so fucking annoying. You think so? No, they're coming for me. No! Hoyo! No! I swear! Yaoguang isn't best in slot. I'm sorry for leaking it. No! Please. Actually, they should be thanking me. I'm probably making them Yaoguang sales. I didn't even realize that. W Hoyo Show? W Hoyo Show. I remember that they said Phanon was much worse than Saber. People saying that shit were just doom posting. Like, if you see Saber team damage, it is garbage, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure she is the weak. Actually, let me check. I have a chart. I have a chart saved somewhere with like every Amphorius DPS and their damage output. Let me see if I can find it.
Let's have a break.
No, not this. Not that. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, Saber's the weakest Amphorius DPS. So, I believe using 8 cost as the metric, right? 8 cost team. Saber is in last place with 37k damage per AV. Boot Hill with Dahlia is 38. Blade is 38. The Herda is 41. Keep in mind, these are with no Eidolons, or, no Eidolons in DPS at least. You have Phanon at 48, Rappa at 50 with Dahlia. You have 9 is Eggy at 59k. 8 is Firefly at 62. 7, My Day. 6, main DPS Tribby. Yes, a lot of people sleep on it. 5, Lingsha. 4, Anoxa. 3, Premium Dot, because, their vertical investment is stupid. 2, Evernight. And 1, Mono Rem. And keep in mind, Mono Rem is at 130k damage per AV at this 8 cost metric. Saber in comparison is 37k. She is like a fourth of Mono Rem strength at the same cost level. Yeah, Saber got shafted pretty badly. Mono Elation will be 200k per AV. I saw a recent showcase with Sparksy main DPS with E1 Yaoguang, and it did about 100k damage per AV, which isn't bad. That's only 30k off of Mono Rem, but they are getting shielded. But obviously, Sparksy is a sub DPS, so yes, it's very likely that the second Silverwolf drops and you run Sparksy sub DPS with Yao Guang and like buff Woho, they will probably be stronger than Mono Rem. Like, I really don't doubt it. They'll do more than 130k damage per AV, even unshielded, at 8 cost. You got E1 Yaoguang buffing the team's damage by 30%. You probably got E2 Silverwolf, which is something probably supremely stupid that we aren't aware of yet. Even Sparksy's E1 and E2 are incredibly high value support Eidolons as a sub DPS for Silverwolf as well, because it adds more punchline and gives her extra turns at the end of Aha instance to generate more punchline, right? Like, it's going to be a mono rem situation for sure, in my opinion. It's definitely getting there. Well, okay. In the first place, Saridra cannot synergize with Sparksy because when she enhances her skill, she uses basic for it. So Saridra wouldn't work like no matter what. Right. But even then, I'm going to be honest, especially if you have no action advancer on the team, Sparksy's damage contribution is probably larger in elation skills, especially paired with Yao Guang, as compared to her actual skills. Um, this is actually something I realized while watching Ruri Goko's Zero Cycle, because Yao Guang can force to Aha instance, and then there's obviously the normal elation skills as well. You get like 5, 6 Aha instance in a Zero Cycle, and that is a majority of the damage, I believe. And keep in mind, this is without an elation DPS in the game yet. This is without an elation sustain. In the future, you'd be able to do 4 different attacks with a full elation team. Like, the more I think about it and the more I watch and the more I read these kits and the more I, really look at it, like, Sparksy's kit was perfectly made as a sub DPS, and the main damage output she does will not be tied to her skills, but instead her elation skills, which is pretty smart. It also means action advance doesn't matter as much on this team, which is obviously what they're aiming for. There's not going to be action advancer in this team probably in the future, so. Yeah, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. This is all meta, best in slot team talk. You do not need this entire full best in slot mono elation team. That's one thing I will say. At least for right now and for a good while they're getting shilled and releasing, like, you do not need these teams best in slots at all. Like, it's probably going to be severe overkill. So you can wait for reruns. You can be cautious if you want to. However, people trying to like say Yao Guang is not going to be best in slot at all. Better Buff Sparkle is going to be better. Like, people like this are just coping. There's no other way to say it. It's just massive cope to downplay a character's value. Well, Silverwolf SP was never a Herda buff at all. Like, she was leaked erudition, but that was it. And then people ran away with saying, "Oh, surely this means she's going to be a Herda buff, right? Surely this means Herda buff." And then when she got switched to elation, people realized, oh, like, she probably was never even ever meant to be a Herda buff. She was always supposed to be like this second main DPS on the A&E, similar to Anoxa, right? But people ran away with that shit and really wanted her to get a buff. How do you think Mono Elation team is going to hold up against Mono Rem? They'll be stronger. I've already talked about this. They'll be stronger for sure. I don't know by how much, but probably by a decent margin. They'll be better than Mono Rem. I have no doubts. Guys, just think about it. If Sparksy can do this right now, Yao Guang has this value and is this strong, and they're still missing two of their premium elation teammates for their best in slot team. And this is leading to them. It isn't only like, you gain from getting more teammates. They are also at the same time getting nerfed currently for not having at least 3 elation teammates on the team. So you get rid of that nerf and at the same time receive the buff from these newer characters added to the team. There's no way they aren't stronger than Mono Rem. Zero way. They 100% will be. Elation Sustain is probably near the end of the version. So this is my guess, because Anon said that there would barely be any Elation characters after 4.2, right? So the wording he used from 4.0 to 4.2 was that there would be a majority of Elation characters, and this led to every character being Elation, except for one being Ashvale. So if you take his word for it, it is very likely the next Elation character is near the end of the version. So the people who think, right, oh, the Cyrene that we're going to get for Elation later on is going to replace Yaoguang, this is probably the Elation sustain and not exactly a Cyrene situation. So they're like kind of, they're not going to do a high scene situation in my opinion, where they ran high scene literally the patch after Cassie. We won't see this Elation sustain until damn near the end of the version probably. And then they'll release it, and then the mono Elation team will be completed. So the sustain took Cyrene's place. Anon already leaked that Nihilux is not in 4.3 anymore, and that she was moved much further away. So if you believe Anon, she probably isn't in 4.4 either. Nihilux is likely near the end of the version, which is why I hard believe Nihilux is going to be best in slot. The Elation sustain. She has white hair, which matches literally the entire trend of everybody on this mono Elation team. She would fit perfectly, in my opinion. Her drip, it talks about like the mother of eons, right? Of course, it isn't literal, but it would fit being a sustain in this team. Shit like that. Who would Evanesia go with if all Elation characters are taken by Silverwolf? You have to choose. That's the thing. You have to choose. Like, this is no different to the Chrysos heirs, right? Who am I going to give my Hyacine? Who am I going to give my Cyrene? You got to prioritize here and there. If you end up pulling both DPSs, you got to share. There's nothing you can do about it. They aren't going to release 2 Yaoguangs, probably. They aren't going to release 2 Elation sustains. I doubt it. You just have to choose. Like, for example, if you have the Elation sustain on Silverwolf's team, then you probably use like buffed Woho on Evanesia's team. If you have Yaoguang on Silverwolf team, maybe you use EMC on an Evanesia team. So I don't know. You just have to choose. There's nothing you can do about it. They didn't make you choose between Cass and Anoxa or Cass and Aglaya. I mean, they both have Cyrene, Hyacine as their best in slots and sustain teams. So they still kind of did, Leon. Like, you still have to choose. Yes, they have alternatives. And buffed Woho will probably be the Elation sustain alternative. Yaoguang, I don't think she's really going to have that great of any alternatives. Like, you remove Cyrene from an Anoxa team, this guy becomes like 50 to 60% weaker more if you don't even if you have Ceredra on the team. Like, the loss is fucking massive for Anoxa without Cyrene. But then you also want Cyrene on Evernight Hyper Carry. You also want Cyrene on Mono Rem. You also want Cyrene for My Day, right? Like, I unfortunately ran into this problem on my main Phanon account I don't really play on anymore. And this was one of the big reasons why I literally just quit playing it. Because My Day and Phanon had the exact same supports. Fucking sucked. And I was so sick of having to like choose between the two, and then one's heavily nerfed. Anoxa uses Don Hung with Eidolon investment, but in E0 S0 Don Hung paired with Cyrene versus a Hyacine paired with Cyrene, I believe there were already calcs done for this at the time. Hyacine Cyrene is better for Anoxa, just because of her sub DPS damage, and as well as her like faster, what's it called, gen for Cyrene's ultimate, leading to more Anoxa action advances. No, Phanon doesn't need Cyrene that much. Not Phanon. Well, paired with Saridra, Cyrene Saridra combo is probably like 25, maybe 20 to 25% stronger. But that's it. He's the character who gets the least of a jump. It's just that I really like playing with best in slot teams for characters, and it's annoying knowing that I need a handicap one, and I might not even have the ability to give them more vertical investment in teammates, because I need to like share this support with someone else. You know, like that shit kind of ruins my vibe. Yeah, Everly. I do think Nihilux will be the elevation sustain. There has been a lot of people trying to speculate about, another elation character in late version 4 other than the elation sustain. I think it's a decent possibility, but I don't think it'd be like an EMC yaoguang upgrade like a lot of people are theorizing. My guess is it goes either two ways. It is a literal EMC upgrade in which they make an upgraded version of hyper carry EMC, right? Because EMC seems to be a hyper carry buffer. So they make a limited version of EMC, but still hyper carry, which does not take away from Yao Guang's value, right? However, what I mostly believe is Sampo DPS. I think this is the most likely one in my opinion, because I don't see Sampo being a best in slot support for this future mono elation team. So my guess is they wouldn't miss the opportunity to make him an actual damage dealer. All right, guys, I'm gonna end the stream here. Uh, some pretty good talk. We'll see how the beta goes. Whenever we end up getting it, we're currently on V2 Ashvale. I think near V3. So we're not far away, guys. We're not far away from the possibility of Yao Guang being a confirmed best in slot. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.